That's what I need to do. Sorry about that.
You're good. All right. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. My name is Benjamin Lake. Welcome to Why We Serve with Benjamin Lake. We got our third episode with guests going on. Today I got Fred Michel. Say hello to guest Fred.
How's it going?
Yeah, that's what's up. Okay. Today actually is my first guest who is still serving. Um, Fred, right now you're AGR, right? Which is Active Guard Reserve.
All
That's
right.
your role now.
Yes, that
Okay.
is.
Um, for those that don't know, aren't really following, AGR, Active Guard Reserve, is a Guard Reserve kind of role where they pretty much work full time. I'll let you explain it, Fred, if you could. Like,
So with AGR, so National Guard Reserve, you have your typical one week in a month, 2 weeks out of the year role, but also you have staff that have to be full time support to get everything ready for them drill assemblies or the ATs. So you'll have your people working Monday through Friday or whatever hours full time. It's so active duty is Title 10, AGR is a Title 32, which is just some probably doesn't mean anything to you guys, but basically I am an active duty soldier, but not it's the same kind of stuff. I get the BAH, BAS, all that kind of stuff like that. Leave everything's pretty similar except for I'd say it's kind of more like a normal job than active duty. Would you say?
yeah, I would say it's like kind of, we always talk about it as the dream job. We always want it like active duty is always like, man, I would love to get that because you get the benefits of you can kind of stay in your, like wherever you're wanting to live. You can pretty much stay there your entire career, and you still get all the benefits of full time active duty, along with back in the day. I don't know if it's that much anymore, but they were still getting deployments just as much back in the day. They could. It's a very beneficial gig, and it sets you up for a 20-year career very easily.
Yeah, and you can get that. You can get that actual 20-year active retirement, which is a little. So if you're just an M-Day soldier, the 1 week in a month, you can retire at 20 years, but you don't get to draw your retirement until you're 60. As an AGR soldier, you can do your 20 years and draw just like as soon as you hit your 20, you get out, just like an active duty member. But it's the 20 years of active time, not the. So me, I was 2 years of M day before I became active, so I actually going to have to do 22 years to hit the 20-year retirement.
I did not know that's how it worked. That kind of
Yes,
It's kind of
yeah.
rough.
So you got to actually.
Um,
It's. I mean, it is what it is. But
I guess it's more rough for the guard or reserve guys trying to get to that 20. I mean, that's like, and then waiting to get that nine.
seems like in the guard, you're either a six and out guy or you're a fucking 30-year guy.
Yeah, especially around here. Once again, Fred is also from kind of. He's from my hometown too. So we see a lot of guys. I think that's a big trend around here is guard and reserve, um, or at least like from your generation, a little older. There was a lot of guard and reserve guys that served during then, but then they got out pretty quickly to come home and stuff. So um, yeah, we'll get into it a little more. Yeah, as always, we're going to talk to Fred though about his experience with joining the army, and especially Fred, I think is a good case. He joined a little later in life, which it's not very, especially with now with COVID and stuff that's happened, the economy and stuff. It's I see it a lot more now. A very big uptick in soldiers joining that are older, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's
I
just like,
actually joined right when COVID hit.
oh, really? Yeah.
You know,
It's yeah. See it, self fulfilling prophecy over here. But I think it's a good perspective for those, especially if you're listening, that are thinking about joining and stuff, and they're that far into their life. It's not a bad thing whatsoever. So we'll kind of talk about that, how Fred went kind of from that, his experience in thus far, and kind of just dealing with all that stuff in his life. So Fred, we're gonna start. why don't you just take us back to, a little bit about your childhood, where you were raised and stuff, and kind of what in that childhood and your teen years and stuff, and then eventually your early adulthood brought you to being in, if you could.
All right. So yeah, I was born in St. Louis, moved down to Vienna when I was around 5 years old. Uh, so I'm the third Vienna boy on the podcast here, and grew up, graduated from the big Mary's R1, set up for great things. Went to college, which wasn't for me. I went for a year and a half. I actually went on an academic scholarship, and I drank that motherfucker away. So it just kind of like how the other guys are saying. I've been listening to the podcast, and a lot of them just when you're that young and you don't really know what you want to do, where you want to go. I didn't really have a major or what I wanted to do. Uh,
I think to attest to that, Fred, because the other two, they didn't really do it as much as me and you did. We both experienced that full time college stuff,
yeah,
and for our lifestyles, how we lived in high school, it does not translate to college. Like we did some wild stuff, and then
well,
you realize in college you actually got to put a little effort in, or you're gone.
no, that's another thing is like high school. I didn't have to try. Didn't do
Yeah.
homework. I could just walk in and get it done and get my A or B in the class. And then also probably what set me up for failure for college was I didn't start drinking until after I turned 18. So I just started my party, and a lot of people around here start a little younger than that, so they're a little more used
I
to it.
didn't know that actually about you. I
Yeah,
didn't know that.
yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't, yeah, wasn't drinking, and then so I went to college, didn't work out. I actually ended up deciding to come home because I didn't really like looking at what I was in the mirror. I was like I said, I didn't drink till I was 18. I kind of pushed, taking care of yourself, working out, being healthy, and I was just being a fucking drunk, doing things I shouldn't have been doing. Decided it was time to step back and get myself straight. Moved back to Vienna, went to work. I've done a plethora of jobs because I didn't join until I was 30, so I worked in the civilian field for a long time.
You were you worked as well at the infamous Quaker. I think all of us have talked about it at
Actually,
this
I
point.
worked at Quaker
But
3 different times. It
yeah,
was always like my transitional job.
yeah, it seems like that
I'd
for
go from
everybody.
go from one thing and be like, well, shit, I don't want to do this anymore or something. So you pop in there because they're always hiring, and you can keep looking while it's just like a temporary thing. Sometimes it sucks you in though, and that little temporary thing ends up being a 2 year stint. And you're like, man, how the fuck this happened?
Where else around here did you work? Like those, was it all those type of jobs, or was it like other random shit?
So I've worked, traveling construction, did local concrete, local carpentry, bricklaying up in St. Louis, just lots of construction, and then the manufacturing at the Quaker. And Quaker was actually the last job I was at right before I joined the military, and that stint was I think
It was a lot.
like 3.5 years.
Yeah.
I got to where I was a supervisor, and the ceiling's so low there. Like you can do all right, but you're gonna hit a brick wall quick because once you hit supervisor, where you're gonna go? You're gonna be the fucking plant manager after that. Like there's
Yeah,
not very
because and yeah, all those guys are corporate dudes at that point. Once you get up to that
you
the
know.
next level, I would say though, Fred, especially with that, wouldn't you say those hard labor jobs like that? I was talking to I think Ryan maybe or Vince, maybe probably Vince more, but them hard labor jobs set you up to really deal with the bullshit of the army. Like when you have those bad days,
Oh,
you can kind of look back and be like, well, at least I'm not cutting them holes in the freaking the the window
yeah.
shits, you know.
Well, I started. So I was raised by my grandma, and her fiance at the time owned a concrete business. So I started packing forms and pouring concrete when I was 13 years old.
Dang.
And so I
Sucks.
was kind of grew up doing, working hard uh, during school. I'd work on the weekends. It's pretty nice. I mean, you can make as a 15, 16-year-old kid making 15 bucks an hour, but back in 2006 wasn't bad for hitting on the weekends, hitting on the summers. I had plenty of beer money, that's for sure. But also, yeah, it turned me into a little pit bull, just packing in forms and dragging mud. Uh,
That shit
def-
work. For people that have never done this, like the people that like live in the cities or whatever, doing that hard labor. But like I've never had to work like those deep construction jobs. Any stuff dealing with that, that is hard ass labor. And you you feel it every day. You get done with work and you're dead. You get up, you gotta do the whole thing over again. So
so a lot of another thing that like we haven't even got to basic yet, but so hard labor. I started doing mixed martial arts when I was a union roofer. So I'd be on the roof for 10 hours, 100 degrees, and then I'd go to, um, it was Howard's ATA at the time, where they did MMA classes after their Taekwondo
oh
stuff,
yeah, I remember that.
and
Yeah.
then I'd train, fight people for 2 hours after working for 10 hours. So
Yeah, you were like you weren't Fred was a fighter. Like you fought in like the little regional shit too, right? Like
yeah,
you were fighting still. Like
yeah, I had 12 amateur fights.
and Fred like that was because I don't know. Fred's a little older than me, just a hair, but me and Vince, we kind of learned from Fred stuff about fighting, jujitsu, lifting weights. Fred and his buddies, they knew all that shit before it was even popular, or like now it's kind of commonplace. I think a little more, but like you knew about it back in high school when nobody was going to the gym and nobody was lifting heavy ass weights. Nobody was taking pre workout, and y'all were in there getting it.
Yeah, I recruited a couple people, got them in on that, but I think I guess I probably did drag like Seth and Dalton and all of you guys,
For
Vince
sure, you
into
can
all that
drag
kind of shit.
Vince and Seth in there all the time.
I used to murder the shit out of Vince's and make him push till he could. Basically, I was smoking him.
Yeah, I mean, because they taught me, because I was even later, and they had that drive to go in the gym and just destroy themselves. I'm like, where the hell are y'all learning this? And they would always talk about how you and Dalton and those older guys,
You know,
you guys would go in and do even crazier stuff.
it's really not the smartest way to train. It's not because you'll hit a point, and once you hit a certain threshold, you're not getting any more benefit out of it. But mentally, you can make a case that it's makes you stronger mentally because you put yourself through some bullshit, uh, make you mentally strong. And so I guess if we're gonna keep going, so like once I got to basic, that wasn't shit.
Well, I'll just back up just a minute.
Yep.
So you're at these jobs. What really led you to join? What was your purpose behind signing up, especially for um, was it reserves initially or guard?
It was guard the whole time.
Okay, so what would be like would you say your driving factor to join the guard?
So it was kind of over the years. My best friend joined when he was, I think, 19, and he wanted me to join with him back in the day for the Stripes for Buddies. And I was kind of a little more rebellious then. I'm like, I don't want to go there and fucking have to do that military shit. But over the years, I mean, he's a active guard guy now, or
Shout
he
out
have,
Chief Ramsey.
yeah,
He's
Chief
over
Ramsey, warrant
listening. Yeah.
officer. Um, but he talked to me, and I'd hear stories of like stuff that he'd done. And the main thing that I liked his stories, how he'd tell me how he would help soldiers out because he's an admin guy. He's a 420. He was a 42 Alpha, which is pretty important job in the guard because we got to do all this administrative stuff for these guys, getting them set up. So for readiness, so in case we do got to do something, get mobilized or for anything. Uh, but he'd also help them in any aspect of life. So he was a real good NCO. Soldier call him up, he'd do anything he could to help him. Uh, and I liked hearing stories like that. I'm like, oh man, he's doing this stuff, helping, doing these feel good things. And I'm, especially towards the end there when I was working at Quaker again, I'm like, I'm just beating my head up against this window for no fucking reason, not going anywhere.
I think a big thing about that, and that's beautiful on Justin because he got in before any of us, and you know, I think a big lesson they teach you out here where we live is to take care of those people around you, not because they owe you or you owe them or whatever, but because it's the right thing to do.
You know,
And I like to pride myself and the people I hang out with that, most of us will give you the shirt off our back. Like, I know Fred. Fred will. He'll give you the shirt off his back just to help you out, even if he ain't got a shirt to wear. Like, it's a great, so it's selfless service, basically, like getting into some goober stuff here, but, the Army values, like, selfless service, that's what Ramsey's talking about is making sure that those below you are set up for success and have a better time dealing with stuff. I had a mentor. His name was Sergeant Major Henson. He's still in, but he talks about there's two types of leaders, and I'm sure I don't know if you dealt with this. There's two types. They say I had it hard, so you need to have it hard, or I had it hard, so I want you to have a better experience than me and
mm-hmm.
not have it as rough. When you say or
Yeah, I could see that. There's definitely, I would say the first one is not the best way to go. I mean, you want
it happens though,
to, it
you
definitely
know it's out
happens.
there, yeah.
Definitely happens. Uh, but no, I wouldn't say that's the best way to go. And I don't think that's the way they teach you nowadays.
No,
Yeah.
you so you got that going. You're ready to. You see that light from Justin,
Yeah.
and you're pretty tired of. Are you tired of Quaker, or were you just like it's not going anywhere?
So I just hit a point where, you know, kind of like you guys, well, pretty much all three of you have said, I didn't know where I was going, what I was doing. It was kind of like that, except for I knew that. I mean, I'd been working in the civilian world for years, so I knew I could survive. I didn't have to. It wasn't like oh shit, I gotta do this to get away or nothing. But I was just like, I just wanted a change of life. I felt like I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't like proud of what I was doing really. It felt empty. So I just wanted to change it up. And like I said, best friend, talking to him, like, that sounds better than what I'm doing. Maybe give that a try. Go fucking do some hoo shit. And so yeah, I ended up joining. I think 2 weeks after my 30th birthday.
Was that in 18 or 19?
I was in 20.
It was in 20.
Oh yeah.
Damn.
I just hit 3 years.
I thought for some reason I guess it's because you're a sergeant, so I think
It's because I'm high speed as fuck,
yeah,
man.
yeah, you're getting after it.
I've hit every waiver point. So I hit sergeant at 2.5 years.
Hell yeah.
I'm gonna hit E6 at 4 years.
Hell
I'm
yeah.
already in an E6 slot.
That's what I'm talking
Well,
about.
as long as I make the list.
Getting after it.
High speed, boy.
So you're there. You're like, no, I want to fix my life. I want to do better.
I don't know if it was better. It was just more different. Like, try to find more of a purpose at
right?
the time. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're like, you're capable of more.
Yeah.
But you don't see that meeting its full potential where you're currently at, I guess.
Yeah. Like I said, it wasn't fulfilling what I was doing. It was all just to make a buck.
What thoughts? This is a little bit of a tangent, but you're kind of the first one I get to ask this to. You know, you have a daughter, Aisha.
Yeah.
She's what? She was 2 when you joined, or no? Geez, she was like 5 or
She was, let's
or
see,
6.
let's subtract here.
Yeah,
She'd have been,
math ain't math.
she'd been 8. So, yeah, 8.
8. So
Mm-hmm.
she was 8 when you joined. That's a big step for a dad to join the military.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the hardest parts once we actually got there to basic.
To
Especially,
be having being gone from her, you mean?
yeah, yeah. Like I said, basic was a breeze, but one time, like there's little kids, or I guess they ain't kids, they're 18, 19,
No, they're
20 years
kids.
old.
They're kids. We can
But
say it now.
these
I'm in my 30s too. We
these
can say it.
motherfuckers are whining about how their pussy hurts about everything, and like it wasn't nothing. But there was one time that I about fucking teared up one time on a mail call because drill sergeants and basic, they're fucking just pushing your shit in all the time, never really showing you any kind of like praise or anything. At least ours wasn't.
Yeah, they're pieces of shit. I don't like them.
And one, Aisha had drawn me a picture, and I got it in the mail, and you got to open your mail in front of the drill sergeant.
Oh
And
man.
then drill sergeant asked me, one was a picture, and he's like, uh, "How old's your daughter?" And I'm like, 8, or yeah, I think fuck, 8 or 7 or 8. And
Still, math is not math in here, people.
well, it's just the dates. And he's like, "Well, she's a beautiful artist," and then that just fucking hit me. I was like, "Oh shit."
Yeah,
But
because
this
you're like,
was
even they have a soul at that point. You're like,
yeah,
oh
I
man.
don't know. And then anyways, you want to get into I guess the start of basic and stuff like that.
Yeah, so like, just walk me through with basic and AIT. What was your overall take of the experience, and like, how did you deal with staying motivated through it? Because my real goal here is to figure out where people lose that motivation, and I don't think it's through basic and AIT, but I do like to know because I've already seen we saw drastic differences between Vince and Ryan.
Yeah.
Um, how did you feel going through that experience?
So, like I said, went to MEPS, signed up, end of January, got my orders, so I'm shipping out.
I'm sorry, real quick, I got to do an admin. For the people that don't understand that, right? MEPS is where you go to before it's military something processing. Fred, I don't know.
There's too
Entrance.
many acronyms in the Army
It's
for
like
me.
military entrance processing station. I think that's it.
That sounds about right.
I think I just won the board.
It's where you raise your hand and swear in,
Yeah.
sign all your paperwork.
And yeah, you get the medical screening, you get the eye test. I mean, you
It's
get
where,
all the.
it's where they look at your butthole.
Yeah, they do some crazy stuff there. You get done with all that stuff, and then like me and Vince, when we talked about the delayed entry program, we did that, and then we waited 3 months, and then we left.
Yeah.
Fred, that wasn't your case, right? You shipped.
So the guard's different than that, I believe, because we got something called RSP, which don't ask me what that acronyms means. Basically, you sign, and as soon as you sign, because in active duty you do your initial, and then you got to go back in and swear in again, and then ship off, right?
Yeah.
So in the guard, it's not like that. You swear in the first time, you're a member. Then you start doing these RSP drills once a month until you ship to basic.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah. The privates now, when I talk to them, they talk about that. I never really understood what that meant.
it's basically they go to drill once a month, and they kind of getting told, they learn a little bit of basic soldier stuff. So to set them up for
success, there, don't they? They have like a drill.
No, it's not drill. It's AGR guys.
Oh, okay.
And they're trying to set them up for success at basic.
Yeah.
It's recruiter people.
I think it's hit or miss. I've had some soldiers like that, but yeah, you can definitely tell they've been taught what's going on.
Oh yeah, they'll teach them basic stuff, how to do a left face, about face, PT,
your
parade rest.
Literally your basic stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, very basic stuff.
Yeah.
But so yep, I went to one RSP in February, and then my orders were cut for basic I think it was March 16th.
Oh, good. Okay.
And so I'm at Quaker. And then a week before, you start hearing all this stuff about coronavirus, Corona 19, or whatever on the fucking news. And then 2 days before I'm supposed to ship, uh, my recruiter calls me and says, "Hey, you ain't going. Your orders are getting canceled because of this.
What?
They're having a no travel for this Corona thing." I'm like, "Oh fuck. All right. Well, I guess I'm gonna just keep working here and at Quaker."
Yeah.
And then 2 days later, so they recut my orders for like the 18th or 19th. They're like, "Hey, you're leaving tomorrow."
What?
I'm like, "We got you in." I'm like, "All right, well, fuck. I
Yeah.
guess
I guess
I
I'll
told I
take
just
it.
told everybody I'm not leaving. I guess I
Yeah.
am."
Psych.
So I was at work and I was like, "Yep, I'm leaving." So I went up to my boss. I'm like, "Hey, it's 9 o'clock. I gotta go. I gotta go pack some shit and get ready to go back to St. Louis because they're gonna ship me out of MEPS." And then get there, and I did basic at Fort Wood, so you went up to St. Louis just for them to bus me back down to Fort Wood and get to the was it the 43rd reception
Yeah.
there,
Reception. Yeah.
and that's probably I hated that part the worst.
I think you hate it because you've never had to deal with that amount of waiting in your life, for sure.
Well, for one, I was cut off nicotine, which wasn't the worst part.
Yeah.
Worst part, I was cut off of caffeine,
Yeah.
and I was a fucking zombie for a
Yeah.
week.
Oh, see, that's like an older thing too. I think that's interesting that you say that.
No, I thought the nicotine was going to be the worst one. The caffeine, like I was literally a walking zombie for a week.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody is, but it's for different reasons, right? Because I was 22 when I joined, and when I joined, I was tired, but it was because I guess I had such a I was very good about always getting 8 hours of sleep. I tried to,
Yeah,
and then like you get there, you're not getting 8 hours of sleep because
no.
you're anxious all the time. But
Mm.
for you, you already had a regimented life of nicotine and caffeine well inducted.
Oh
in
yeah, it
you.
was ingrained in my soul.
Yeah, yeah, it's got an imprint there. A Marlboro patch, just boom. But like, that's crazy to think of that withdrawal because it is a withdrawal, and
Yeah,
you're just out there trying to get these pair of pants that they're giving you, and
no.
you're just, I
getting
want a fucking energy drink so
getting
bad.
pants, getting shots in your ass.
Yeah.
But
Oh yeah, the peanut butter shot.
oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That thing does hurt. But anyways, so day one, we're walking around like normal. Everybody's nut to butt in lines and the shit. Second day, I guess, is when the fucking shit hit the fan because some major or colonel or somebody fucking put out everybody's fucking 6 foot apart. So first day, everybody's
Oh, cause COVID hit, so
yeah.
they're like, get apart, get apart.
Oh yeah. So day one, we're all nut to butt in our lines. Second day, everybody's spread out. Everybody's got to put their gator neck over their mouth. So it's just fucking right when I got there,
Yeah,
that shit started going. Uh, then you go through all your in processing stuff from reception. Then they ship you over for day 0.
For those that, sorry, yeah, I gotta keep doing that. I just want to make sure we're building a rapport here. The place he's talking about is reception. When you go to basic training, whether it's I don't know how the Marines do it or the Navy and stuff, but the Army and I'm pretty sure Air Force as well. You get to a reception battalion where it is just a bunch of drill sergeants that kind of walk you around and get you your uniforms, your shots, your glasses. I mean, all this basic stuff that is yours now. And then they do that, and then after how many days was it for you? That's an interesting thing too.
Uh, it was 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, see, mine, I think we were there for 3 or 4 days. Like it was a quick turnaround back then. Either way, it's a very fast. It's like you're there for max a week unless you got some crazy stuff going on.
Yeah.
And then you go to basic training.
Yep.
Now, when Fred went, it was a little different. When I went, you get off a bus and they just start doing some. Excuse me.
We had Shark Attack.
You did have Shark Attack,
but our Shark Attack.
Shark Attack. I don't condone it whatsoever. I think They
But
fucked up the drill sergeants would ever treat soldiers like that. Welcome back, guys. Sorry about that break. We are back with Fred, who was just telling us about his experience going through the shark attack.
so, like you said, you don't condone the shark attack. But I was going to say the funny part with COVID is we had the shark attack, but our drill sergeant had to be within 6 foot distance from us. They wasn't allowed to get in on our face. I mean, they were still screaming and doing the best they could. I mean, this was their first COVID cycle
Yeah,
too,
they had to learn how to
so
deal
that
with it too.
nobody knew what the fuck was going on. It was just fucking flying by the seat of your pants, doing what you could.
Yeah.
But so yeah, so we get there, we're getting screamed at, and nobody knows what the fuck to do because like you said, shark attack is supposed to be a stressful environment, kind of a culture shock type of thing, which didn't bother me at all. I was just like, well, I know it's gonna kind of suck, but fuck it.
Yeah.
There's some people pissing their pants because I mean they
Yeah.
always do.
Now, well, there's some people that have never been yelled at in their life, but I also think like I was nobody heard it before the break, but I was just laughing hysterically because the whole point of a shark attack, you're supposed to like the whole effect is that you're in their face screaming. So you know, running around 6 feet away makes makes no sense to me whatsoever. Um, Real weird, but I guess that's what they had to do at that point. I mean, I didn't even me. I saw the effects of COVID, and even as I became a drill, there were stuff implemented where you're just like, what the fuck are we doing? But they had to make it work.
So yeah, we get there, do all that. We get to our barracks, got to put our shit away, and basically we were like the quarantine kids because we were the first cycle that hit like right in the middle of that shit. So we were pretty much locked in our barracks for the next 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, they did the little quarantine phase.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
we wasn't allowed outside when other people were outside. So we didn't go to the chow hall because basic you're supposed to go to chow hall to learn basic movements and shit like that.
Yeah, you do it the whole time. What did you guys do?
They brought hot A's into us
Oh, oh my god! Every meal, or
every
just
meal except well we get 2 hot A's and one MRE. Like we were fucking
that,
locked in.
that's awful.
It
That's
was
fucking terrible.
so basically basic was to me it was more boredom than anything because a lot of it they just sit us in a war bay and tell us to sit down and shut up for like 4 or 5 hours.
Right. Most of the stuff they probably couldn't even train you on
No, we
because
did.
of all the isolations.
Yes, we did the graduation requirements.
Oh, and that
That
was the bare minimum. Yeah.
yes, that's what we did.
Okay.
We didn't even PT because we weren't allowed to go outside while
Damn.
other people were PTing.
Yeah. Well, at that
I
point too,
mean,
were they transitioning to the ACFT?
yes, we did the ACFT.
Yeah. So the old for admin note for those that haven't been in the old PT test, which was the APFT Army Physical Fitness Test, that was just the one you always hear about: 2 mile run, 2 minutes push-ups, 2 minutes sit-ups. The Army recently well, not recently because it's been pretty much 3-4 years. The implementation was it's 6 events or 5 events.
It's 6.
It's 6 events that measure a bunch of different things. It includes a sprint drag carry. It's still got the 2 mile in there for some reason.
Aren't they changing the name?
So
because they took the leg tuck out and put the plank in, so it's not the combat test anymore.
It's still the APFT. It's Army Physical Fitness Test, but now they're running into issues in Congress. That's probably
they tried to make it gender and age neutral, and that didn't work out.
And then they realized that wasn't working because that in itself was actually. I don't want to go too inside baseball here, but there's a whole lot of bureaucratic red tape bullshit.
Testosterone is a hell of a hormone.
Yeah, and yeah, this is the issues we're fighting here, people. But it's running into a lot of issues. I believe they're about to go back to another gender neutral one. That's the
what?
One. Yeah.
Oh my god.
The grapevine. Yeah, you heard it here first. Whoops.
Well,
Benjamin Lake is officially stating no. But that's another thing. Fred went through. He's also having to learn this new PT test. They're implementing a new PT standard of how you do workouts, and those drill sergeant. I can look at it now because I'm in that role,
mm-hmm.
but they're trying to implement all that shit brand new, and they don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah,
Then they got you guys, the blind leading the blind at that point.
yeah. So my mentality for basically, Ramsey had told me the same thing, kind of like Ryan was talking about. Just go in there, be middle of the pack, keep your head down, do what you need to do. Don't try to be a stud. Don't be a fuckhead.
100%.
So I did that for like the first 2 or 3 weeks,
Yeah.
and then I got bored as fuck. So when they started,
You guys suck. I'm taking
no, so
over.
I'm like, so they're asking for volunteers. Well, fuck, I don't want to sit here anymore. I'm going to do something.
Yeah.
So volunteered. Uh, then like on our ACFT, I ended up getting the highest PT. So I got to. So then I'm standing out because I'm the highest PT guy.
Oh yeah.
And then yeah, I
Yeah, I
was
mean, people get.
I basically just volunteered to do everything because I was tired. I didn't want to sit around, and that was a COVID thing. I've heard other people that actually went to basic like a month or two before me, and they did so much more shit.
Yeah,
And
I'm sure you missed out on a very large experience of it, which sucks. But that's the hand you were dealt. At least you actually learn. You know what? You're like, you know what? I'm tired of being on the sideline. Like this shit's boring as hell.
but basically, it was easy. It was easy in my mind. The only thing that sucked about it was time really seems to slow down because that's like the longest days of your life. Like a 15-hour day, you feel every fucking minute of the day. When you're a civilian and you just fucking browsing around on your phone or checking around watching TV or something, the days kind of just go by. There's like every minute you were conscious for it, kind of.
See, I was the opposite when I went through. I was like, when I used to go to work, I'd be like, man, this clock will not move. But then I went to basic, but maybe that's because my experience, because I was able to do everything and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if like maybe it was like I was so busy, it was just like, oh damn, the day's over. Okay, I can deal with
Well,
this.
I think a lot of it too was how they were doing us because we were the COVID kids. We weren't allowed to be around anybody. So just imagine just go in that corner and sit in it for 4 hours. It's gonna be a long 4 hours,
Oh
ain't
yeah, that's
it?
pretty boring. Well, I mean that's what we did on religious service day on Sunday or whatever.
Yeah.
All we were doing was fucking around in the barracks. There's either people taking naps, there's people doing dumb shit, or there's people just bored out of their damn mind talking to each other. That's my experience. That's what we did.
All they ever talked about, fucking 2 weeks in, all they talk about is food. Like everybody
Yeah,
starts
and it's
talking
the
about how
food
they
and
want some
shit.
good food.
Yeah, it's like, dude, shut the fuck up. This is not that bad.
But it was kind of neat because you meet some people from like fucking Puerto Rico and like all over the place.
Yeah, you meet kids from states you don't even realize are states, like New Hampshire. You're like,
Yeah,
what the hell is there?
I mean, I
And
really didn't understand. You got people from the territories too, and you're like, I didn't really understand about the territory. Like they're kind of, I mean, they're citizens,
yeah, you're talking
but
about Guam. I
yeah,
think
we had people from
Fiji. Like,
Guam, and
I mean, there's random ones. Yeah,
but so
American
it was
Samoa.
interesting just meeting a bunch of different people.
I think it's really cool from here, um, because like you don't really there is literally no ethnicity in Vienna except for white people. As far as
There's more than there used to be.
there's more than yeah. We got a Mexican restaurant now in town,
Yep.
ran by the only Mexican family in town, and then I think there's a couple more now. I see people in school. I think that's good, but like you know, even me and you, Fred, when we went to college, you're like, holy shit, like there's so much more culture out there.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
makes you a better person, I think. It makes you like if you come back here and you're like, man, people you gotta experience the world a little bit to appreciate it better. because it's
Well, you don't want to
awesome.
always be surrounded by people that think the same way as you do.
No, not at all.
You gotta.
I say as I have three of my closest friends be the first podcast guest.
We were just the easiest one.
Yes.
And I see where I ranked on it. I was
Yeah.
the third one.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Nah, I'm fucking with you.
No, but I totally get that. Would you say through basic though, would your motivation go up as you like progressed and made those achievements? Did it have a factor on you, or were you like kind of indifferent to it?
So I knew what my goal was um, coming in, which was to become AGR. So I knew that was my end goal. Uh, Basically, all the stuff that I did in basic and AIT, basically, I just kind of tried to get through it, but I ended up doing extra shit just because. So like I got an AM out of basic.
Hell yeah.
And
For the PT stuff, or
yeah, for the PT.
yeah.
Well, they put me in for uh what the hell? It might have been leadership or something too, but I already had the PT, so they just gave me the PT.
Oh, okay.
Um, and then moving into AIT is kind of the same thing.
Your AIT was at Fort Jackson.
Yeah,
Right?
went to Fort Jackson, so I had to go back to the 43rd, and I was supposed to. It's pretty shitty. It's pretty shitty because of COVID, we didn't get a family day, and my family was 40 minutes away, so I was kind of bummed about that. And then we didn't get a graduation pass. There's no such thing as a pass the whole time I was in there.
Damn.
Uh, but on graduation day, I didn't even get my phone call because they're like, "You're flying out tomorrow." I'm like, "Sweet, I don't have to get stuck here." Because there's people sitting in the barracks that are holdovers because of COVID with flight restrictions that have been sitting in there for a month waiting to go to their next station. So I'm like, "Sweet, I got lucky. I'm getting out of here." Go to the 43rd. They take our phones away from us, so I didn't even get to call them and be like, "Hey, I graduated. I'm getting ready to go to."
Jesus.
So uh, my family's like, "Well, what the hell happened to him?" We seen his little graduation live stream, and now he's gone fucking dark.
Yeah.
And then back to the 43rd. All you do is you wake up for breakfast, lunch, and dinner,
Yep,
and
and that's
you're stuck in the barracks.
Yep.
And then eventually got on a plane to go to South Carolina. Get there, and it's better because I think it's relaxing Jackson, and
That's what people say, I suppose.
my drill sergeant was pretty fucking cool. Uh, I mean, he didn't just get onto us for stupid shit. Like,
You talking about while you were at AIT?
yeah, and my AIT platoon sergeant,
Oh,
drill
okay,
sergeant,
yeah.
he's a pretty cool guy. But basically, AIT, we just went to the classroom every day, learned a bunch of shit that I basically never use. It's a 42.
Yeah, that's pretty. I think that's pretty much almost every freaking AIT.
So there's a couple things in there that were good, but a
Yeah.
lot of it was kind of I don't really use it, especially being a guard guy
we're
because they were teaching us active duty stuff, which we didn't use because we were already on IPSA. Y'all were still on a Milpo and bullshit like that.
Yeah, it was a nightmare. It was an absolute nightmare for the transition. We're gonna go into this more. I just got to take a quick pee break. We're gonna be literally transition right back in. Sorry, guys, we're back. Okay, we're talking about going through AIT. How Fred hit a pretty good point about they teach you this stuff in AIT, and I'll attest. Even in ours, we kind of teach some stuff that you're not necessarily going to use, and I would say a lot of it. You get to your unit, and that's really where you get the on the job training of like what you're actually going to do. Wouldn't you say?
Well, that's something that they tell you too for certain things is like you learn that when you get to your unit, which I mean that's what happens. I don't feel like it should be how it happens.
That's not the answer.
No.
But then they also waste time training you on stuff that you're like you never used.
Yeah, I mean, different units have different SOPs as well. On so it's kind of which when I went to BLC, that's kind of what they said of why they don't really do field tactics as much in BLC because they're going to teach you one way, but your unit does it a different way. So why would they waste the time doing that?
Yeah, I when I went, we did field tactics still,
You know,
and I did land nav, field tactics, some leadership stuff more. Um, I will say I am disappointed a little bit because I think it holds a little value because at the end of the day you're a soldier and you really should know how to do some of that stuff.
you should.
And I
Everyone
don't
should definitely know their basic soldier skills.
right, but I don't think writing papers makes you a good leader, or for that matter, a fucking sergeant. Like you're not you're not going to be your full potential by learning how to write an APA paper format. Like
They,
a sergeant, their
they,
job is to lead the soldiers and take care of them, not
they,
learn about the history or some shit.
they got a video on that. They make you watch now,
Oh,
talking
really?
about writing papers, how it's stupid. But like somebody says that, and then some master sergeant that's fucking ranger tab talks
Oh,
about
yeah, yeah. I'm sure they wrote a bunch of papers.
you know. But I mean, yeah, as an E5, E6, writing a bunch of papers. I mean, once you get to the senior and fucking staff level, I'm sure. I mean, they're writing a bunch of papers probably, or writing. You don't think
No,
so?
I think the only
I mean,
people
they're not writing papers.
I think the officers are. I think the officers are writing a shit ton of papers, especially the ones that go to like they go back to college,
You know,
and they do studies and stuff. But like, you know, E7 have to like they're not like, okay, we're going to the range on Monday. We got you know for Seaburn, right? We got a Seaburn training Tuesday, Wednesday, but then I really got to focus down this 7-page paper on
no.
on the nuclear meltdown of Chernobyl, and then Friday will close out. No, I don't think that's
I
happening.
mean, yeah, it really doesn't make sense because even I guess like officer wise and stuff like that, they would be more writing fragos and shit like that instead of an APA
Yeah,
essay.
and even that, like, I mean, I wrote memos, counselings. Um, that's pretty much what NCOs stick to is
You know,
memorandums and counseling. And there's a very specific format for those, but
there's a
I'm
template
pulling
for everything.
templates, yeah.
Yeah, there's a template
And
for everything.
counseling I'm writing based on situations and shit, not
But,
that stuff. But we digress. I mean, like
yeah,
it has its purpose, I suppose. That's why they're teaching it.
and all right, so back to AIT. So yeah, we're going to class. Basically, I start AIT out. All right, I volunteered for everything in basic. Didn't really get fucked up too much for it, but I'm in AIT. Let's go back to what my buddy told me. Middle of the pack.
Yeah,
Calm her
yeah,
down.
yeah,
Um, that didn't work out. Spoiler alert. But
yeah. Damn.
so first couple weeks, I'm middle of the pack, not trying to do anything. I mean, anything extra. Uh, then eventually, I ended up being a PG, which is kind of the student platoon leader.
Yeah, they call him the platoon. That's what PG platoon guy.
Yeah,
And they pretty much they're the voice between the drill sergeant and the formation
yeah,
of putting out info and leading the soldiers in
yeah.
formations and stuff.
You're part of the student leadership, and then
Yeah, it's kind of to set those soldiers up too. I didn't realize it in when I went through. I just thought it was the kiss asses or like the ones that were like really squared away people. It's either kiss asses or really squared away people, and you're like, okay, this is take it with a grain of salt and move on. Now I realize at this point you see potential in those people,
yeah.
and you are grooming them basically to get ready to take on leadership roles early in their career because they probably will.
So that's basically how it happened. My drill sergeant asked who wants to kind of compete for it a little bit because basically they told you like the people that are in this are probably if they do well they'll probably get something at the end of this. You might get an award at the end that'll set you ahead of your peers. Uh, but he ends up coming up to me and has me do that. So I'm PG for a couple weeks, and then the same shit happened again with a student first sergeant vacancy,
Ooh,
and
the
then
student worst. All right.
yeah, so I ended up being the student first sergeant. I didn't fucking ask for it. Platoon sergeant come with me,
Yeah, they
or drill
picked you.
sergeant, same shit.
Congratulations, you're the student worst.
Yeah, I'm the student worst and I was because because of the COVID stuff it wasn't as bad as when I first got in, but basically the classes coming in behind us, there was a delay.
Yeah.
So I ended up being student first for like a month,
Oh wow.
and which that was actually better than being a PG because then I could just I was the go between the drill sergeants and the PGs, so I'd get it from them and I'd put it out, and I didn't really have to do as much,
Yeah,
so
I
I kind of
think
like that.
it's interesting too because we had we do the same thing in my AIT. We have a student. People probably don't know. We're saying student worst because you call them a student first sergeant
Mm,
because there's a first sergeant that first sergeant is the
senior
senior
and
non-commissioned officer of the company. They're in
mm,
charge of everything. A student first sergeant, they're in charge basically of like they're holding in the mornings when they do PT formation, they're making sure everybody's there basically, and they let the first sergeant take charge. Um, during the days, they kind of are known as the spearhead of all the soldiers. If there's any issues or whatever needs to be addressed, they're bringing to the drills. And they're like the student first sergeant is in charge of not only their class, I don't know about y'all, but they were basically the voice for the entire company's soldiers, like other classes too. Was that for y'all or no?
yeah. Well, we had in my company we had like 220 people,
Yeah.
so
Was it divided though between platoons
we
or?
had 5 platoons.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we call them the student worst. I don't. There's not a good answer. It's probably just because like people are assholes, but it's you fuck with
So
them. You say fucked up jokes to them because you know they are good soldiers, and that's kind of I think a lot of people won't say it, but the military's way of, when we're close to people or we know they're good, you fuck with them. You say stupid ass jokes, you
just
shit on them a little bit, but they know it's in jest.
bringing out their potential,
Right. And I'm
but
sure that I think that's going away probably because I think me and Fred in our generations growing up, we did that and that people knew you were cool with each other if you fucked with each other.
you gotta be super careful nowadays with
Right.
bullying or
Yeah.
hazing and
And
fucking.
younger people just don't really understand that. And that again, I can't knock them for it because they didn't learn. Like they learn from the adults, right? And we're the parents. The older crowd, I guess they're probably emphasizing, "Hey, don't you shouldn't make fun of people." So I guess that's what it is.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
There's a line, but I think a lot of it's getting pushed too far past
Yeah,
that
and
line.
I hate
On
it. I personally hate it because the military, when my first like 5 years I was in, that's what people did. Like you make crack jokes at each other. You're having fun,
well,
and the line you're not supposed to step over. Sometimes people do, but you correct it. It's self-correcting. Um, and now it's very much deterred. Like we're like people like don't be saying that shit because
yeah.
someone's gonna get way too offended.
Well, my mentality was if you're supposed to be prepared to be stuck out in the middle of nowhere getting shot at, you probably shouldn't be so sensitive to a fucking bullshit little joke. But I can understand when it gets to the point of habitual, you know, uh,
EO,
pushing
right?
some,
We're
yeah.
talking we're talking about EO
So
basically. It's equal opportunity, but it covers hazing and bullying.
yeah, I think
That's a
a
big
lot of
one.
the guard guys, at least, are pretty. They're a lot more relaxed on that. Not relaxed on like hazing and bullying's cool.
Yeah.
No, not like that. But I mean, like people are chill. Like
I'm getting
you're able to
canceled
joke
like fourth
around with
episode.
each. You're able to joke around with each other pretty
Yeah,
good.
no,
Every,
it for sure. And drill sergeants, especially, are scrutinized like crazy now. Because anything we say to soldiers now is hyper focused, and they can claim immediately.
yeah,
They're bullying me. They're being mean, and I'm not saying I haven't had that circumstance, thank God. But like I know a lot of people that have dealt with those issues, especially in the basic training realm, and it's hard because that's not fair. That's
yeah,
we learned how to lead and make cohesion amongst our teams by doing that kind of stuff. I'm glad that it's like that for you though in that situation because I'm sure your team is cohesive and they get along and stuff. And
yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
you always have hiccups, but
there's always a couple, but
for the most
so
part, you'd say,
far, so far, since all the units or people that I've worked with have all, I haven't had a bad unit. Like everybody's,
that's good.
everything's been pretty cool. I mean, I've met a lot of cool people.
Yeah,
But anyways, on the AIT, we're finishing it out.
yeah, yeah.
Got the student first sergeant, end up going. Uh, then in the middle of AIT, they're asking for volunteers for airborne because COVID. I guess the airborne school numbers were down because of the delay in personnel
Oh,
coming in.
yeah, yeah,
So I raised my hand and they wouldn't let me go because I was guard instead of active.
yeah,
And then they're like, well, they asked again because they didn't get enough volunteers. I raised my hand again. I was like, you sure there's no way I can go? And they're like, yeah, go talk to your liaison. And they ended up letting me go. Like
yeah. Hell yeah,
Ryan was
getting
talking
a
about
grass.
how his recruiter was kind of like fucking him around.
Yeah,
My recruiters were cool as shit.
yeah,
They helped me out. Uh, might have helped that I had a friend of the recruiters that were friends with the recruiter,
yeah.
but they didn't steer me
Either
wrong at
way, that's
all.
awesome. That's a great. That's awesome because I'm airborne too. I haven't got to jump too much, but I always am aggressive in pushing soldiers to go because it sets. You went through that experience. I guess we could. I didn't even think about that, Fred.
What?
Talk about that experience. What
So, all
that
right,
because that's a fun. Like it's a fun time.
yeah.
Even though it sucks, it's a
Well,
fun
I
time.
ended up all right. So I ended up graduating AIT, got another AAM leadership that time.
Hell
I
yeah,
was
that's
like
what I'm talking
some
about.
high
Fred's
speed
got
as
more
fuck, boy.
awards than me coming out of AIT. That's what's up.
But went to airborne, Fort Benning, Georgia. Hot as fuck, middle August,
Ooh,
and
ooh.
so with a caveat of the first time I ever flew in a plane was heading to South Carolina for AIT. So
Damn.
so the second time I get in a plane, which is jump week, I'm jumping out the motherfucker.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that was interesting. Uh,
Isn't it crazy the mentality of when you're in that plane and you're so like? Because I was scared. I was scared shitless because I hate heights,
yeah.
and I was up in that plane, and I've flown a billion times, but you got to jump out of it, and there's just something that clicks when you stand up and hook up, and you just do what they say, and you go somehow.
Well, that's what the first 2 weeks are for. You're doing it over and over. You're hooking up the lines. You're jumping out of a fake fucking door and doing your what the fuck's it called? What's the landing called?
PLF,
PLF. Yeah.
PLF,
And
just falling down over and over.
yeah, as long as you fall down right. Because I mean, our first jump. I mean, there was a few people that broke their shit.
Oh yeah, we
Yeah.
only had one. Damn, you
No,
never had
there was at least five.
Wow.
So you do need to land right because you don't land soft.
No.
One of my times I did actually land soft, but
Oh really?
uh,
Is the wind slow or something?
I think I just
What we're talking about, people? I don't know. I got an admin note again. The people that don't know, we're talking about airborne school. I think most people in Raider Society know, but airborne school is when you jump out of planes, right? That you get the parachutist badge that's worn on your uniform.
low altitude jumps.
Yeah, they're low altitude jumps. You literally, it's like I don't know, 60 people typically, maybe 120 if you're doing something crazy. You're jumping out of a plane out the side of it, and it's a static line that is connected from the parachute to the plane on a steel cable. So when you jump, it rips it open, and you are in the air for what, a minute or less, pretty
It
much.
feels
It
it
feels,
feels like 20 seconds.
yeah, it feels like like it feels like you do it, you go, yay, and then you're landing.
But yeah, it is supposed to be like a minute and a half or something.
Yeah,
But
me and you know, it's not
basically,
that
you
bad.
jump out, you get shit whipped around for a second, count to your 6,000, hope
Yeah,
your shit opened up, and
yeah,
then you start doing your safety checks, looking for twists in your lines and stuff like that. And by the time I would get done with all that, we're ground's getting pretty close. Time to start.
yeah.
You know, but
I think a lot of people, they wonder about airborne school, like what's so special about it. You know, active duty, especially the soldiers are like they want it, but they don't understand it. And I try to explain, active duty wise, you you go to better units. Not that they're better than you, not global dream, right? But I'll tell you, here at airborne school, we're better than you. We know it. I
dirty legs.
Yeah, I think it's like they went through basic and AIT, but they also went through something that you had to want to go to and get through, and that's a hard thing to do for a lot of people. I know a lot of NCOs that could further their career even better, but they will not jump out of a fucking plane, and it's that's their decision. But there are communities out there for airborne like units that are it's just a little better. That's all.
No.
But guard, I don't know. What do you think
Well,
it
that's
affects
the
you
point of
or?
why they was like super lucky that they even let me to go because we don't have an airborne unit in Missouri for guard. There is no airborne unit.
Yeah, we're the only one I know is the ones down. There's like groups down in like Alabama and
They got them up north too because I
um,
went to
the little battalions I think up there and
you
stuff.
know,
But
but just quick brief overview of airborne. Week one, you're just learning how to fall, so you're standing in a rock pit, kind of jumping and learning the PLF, and then also I think in week one you're also doing the zip line.
yeah, I think the first 2 days they teach you how to fall right because you go to that rock pit and do it, and then
Hmm.
you do the little zip line. Remember the little
So the zip
shitty
line
zip
is to
line?
teach you how to jump
No,
out
but
of the plane.
remember the shitty zip line? Like it's in the gravel pit, and you gotta like stand up there, you hold onto it, and they go release, and you just fall.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it hurts. So you're sore like that whole first week.
You talking about the swing?
Yeah, I get no, no,
Or
no,
no?
no. This was like our first week. You did regular falls, but then there was one. You remember you stood on the little tier thing, right?
Yeah.
On that tier thing, there was a little zip line, like little handle. You would grab onto it, and we would like you'd ride it, and they go release, and you would
Oh yeah,
fall.
yeah. I
Yeah.
remember. Yeah.
So I think you did that the first 2 days or so, maybe three, and then the last 2 days you did a zip line, which you go all the way up in this giant stairwell thing into a fake plane basically and jump out onto a zip line. You're like you jump out but you're connected to a zip line and it hurts. It yanks you in parts you don't want to. And you do it a couple times and then you gotta do it a couple times with a giant ruck between your legs and you're trying to walk up those stairs. You're tired. Fred went, I went too when it was hot, and you're just like, mother. Oh.
The zip
But
line is fun once or twice.
yeah,
After you
that's
do it 50 times and it's 100 degrees out, you're done.
and you're doing the detail too, like
Yeah.
you're running a
Running the
you got to
rope
run the
back and
rope back or make sure people don't fall or get hit. Like,
oh
but
yeah, catching
you,
people.
your second week there, I think you do what the swing.
You just swing. You learn your safety checks and how to untwist your
Oh
lines and
yeah, yeah.
things like that. So you're sitting in the harness and at that one spot around the track there.
And then they did the remember they did do it for y'all the tower.
They showed us the tower, but we yeah
We had like three people do the tower and then they stopped.
No,
For
they.
those that don't know, it was actually an exhibit at the World's Fair back in I think 1914 or tower thing, and they have claws that come down and attach to a parachute that pull you up all the way, and then the claws release, and then you basically are parachuting for 5 seconds, and then you land.
Yeah, it's
Right? I
probably
think that's
it's
what it
probably about
is.
a what, like 100 foot up or something.
Yeah, it's scary.
It's
It's meant
basically,
to
yeah,
be
it pulls you
scary.
up with the parachute open and just drops you.
It's scary because if the wind took you wrong, you'd go potentially into the tower.
Oh
It
no, if
had to
you're
happen.
well, and then yeah, if your chute collapsed in on itself somehow, there's no
Yeah,
time for nothing.
yeah,
But yeah, and then
not a good time.
the last week, jump week, we got 5 jumps. We did
Yeah,
what, one Hollywood day and night, and then 2 day combat and 1 night combat was what we did.
yeah, I think that's what we did.
And that's the worst. The worst part is sitting there waiting to get on a plane because they strap you up with your rig, and like he was saying, stuff's getting tight in places you don't want it to be tight, and you sit there for a few hours, can't go pee or
Can't do
anything, like,
nothing.
yeah, you can't do
Can't
nothing.
touch your shit. Can't move your helmet. Can't move your rig or nothing. You're just sitting there.
I had a dude sitting right next to me get recycled because he closed his eyes for too long, and I was like, "Fuck, man!" And I think we were on
Damn,
like our
dude.
4th jump too.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he got recycled over
What the fuck?
nodding off. And then the worst part with the heat is, we had a couple people heat cat too, like out in the field when you're running back,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Because they
uh,
make you when you
because you
land.
can't drink a bunch of water to be hydrated because you're sitting in there for a couple
You
hours
don't
and
want to piss.
you can't piss.
But then
So,
you got to land and you got to pack your chute up in this little bag they give you that's
mhm.
attached to you. And then you have to slightly, you can't walk, is the big thing. You can jog, but can't walk. And you go all the way back. And sometimes people are almost a mile away from the pickup point.
Yeah, with like what is it, like about 50, 60 pounds total with the
Yeah, I mean,
reserve and the.
it's not light whatsoever. And it's on your back. And you already did the jump, so your adrenaline's pumping. But then you're like, ooh, it starts wearing off, and you're like, man, kind of tired. And then if you're doing it back to back jumps, because a lot of us were, I think you did it too, right? You jump, all they do is put you right back on a bus and take you right back to the place to jump, right?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, 2. So 2 of the days we did 2. Yeah.
Ours we did, um, I think we did 3 in one day,
Oh
and
fuck,
then we did
that sounds
two the
terrible.
next day. It was awful. I think we did 2 Hollywoods and then a combat night, and then two Hollywood day and night, and then we graduated the next day
Hmm.
because it was like right at dusk. But anyway, like you're just tired, like you're just exhausted. I, but it's not a hard school. That's the weird part. People complain about it. I complain because I went through when I did it was PT test and they were very strict on it. Now they're not. They don't even do that. Did they do that when you went through?
PT test.
Yeah.
They didn't do an APFT. They did the 20-second hold,
Yeah.
and was there another thing? Fuck, I
No,
think
that's pretty.
that
The
might be
runs,
in
and
it.
they did they did runs, not 2 miles, but they did a couple runs during PT.
I mean,
Like,
you're supposed to run everywhere,
yeah, that was it. Yeah,
but
it's not a hard school, but it's just a thing. That's all. Um,
it's it's not. Yeah, it's not a school where you get your shit pushed in. But it's not quite a gentleman's course.
right. Yeah, yeah. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, because
It's
you're in the
it's not air
barracks still.
assault. And
You're in the barracks, but you still just kind of hang out and stuff.
that's another shitty thing with COVID. If we want to get on the COVID,
Yeah.
uh, you're supposed to be getting passes on the weekends in airborne school, and
Oh,
didn't
you
get a
didn't get any?
fuck no. Wasn't allowed off the
That's
battalion
ass.
footprint.
That's
The
ass.
gas station was right across the street. I was looking over there. I'm like, man, I want a can chew. I'm still nicotine free at this
Yeah.
point because they took it
Yeah.
away from us in AIT too, so we couldn't have it.
Yeah. What the fuck?
But
Well, after all this, right? So
uh
you
huh.
get done with those three, basically AIT airborne school. you're done with that. How would you say like your level of like being willing into the army? Were you way more pumped about it than where you were when you joined? Like
Well,
starting out.
especially with the airborne, I was like, yeah, I got to do some cool shit that I would have never done if I wasn't in the army.
Right.
Uh, so so I was pretty hyped about that, and I'm excited about and that was my home stretch too. So I'm excited. I'm gonna get home, and then I'm gonna start pursuing what I joined for, which was to become full time. And uh, so it was my motivation was very high because I had a lot of things to look forward to, a lot of new things to experience.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. I think that is a big thing too about airborne school. It gives that drive and motivation to succeed in the army. Where out of AIT, you're just like, I'm ready to be done with this school. I want to get it going. So you get done with that. Just a brief, a brief overview, Fred, of your career from basically. I mean, what was that? The end of 2020, right?
Yeah, I got out of airborne in September 2020.
Yeah. So just a brief overview from then and now of like your kind of your duty positions and where you were at, because you basically started off in the guard, just doing one weekend a month, right?
No,
Or I
no,
was gonna say,
I
yeah, I was gonna
went
say,
I went full
jeez,
speed.
yeah,
Uh, so I got out in September, first week of September. Uh, took took about 3 weeks off, and I started on ADOS, which is
oh, okay,
on October 1st. So you know how the fiscal year lines up. October 1st, military gets a bunch of money, so that's good time to be applying for jobs. Basically,
oh, okay,
ADOS is temporary active duty AGR. You get orders for a set amount of time. Um,
it's like what he was in with AGR. It's that, but just on a contract for like a certain amount of time, right?
yeah, yeah, and your orders can get cut if something happens. So I mean, it's not it's AGR, but it's not stable.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's not reliable. I wouldn't.
yeah. Contract work.
Yeah, pretty much. So I start AGR. I'm PFC at this point at state headquarters, or I say AGR, ADOS, state headquarters. Working in the basically the IPSA office.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Uh,
For those that don't know, it's like, is that like Deers or is that different?
no, this is so at the state level. This is it's where we're doing. So you put in things like basically monitoring. We're putting stuff in. So it's iPerms, IPSA. Um,
What do you call it? Human resources shit
you
that
know,
like
we were
regular
the
all has, yeah.
final look, final quality, quality
Oh, okay.
control.
For the Missouri National Guard.
Yes, we're the Missouri National
Okay.
Guard. So working up there at state, learning all these different systems, which another thing, like I talked about what I did as a civilian, roofing, uh, concrete,
Yeah.
carpentry. Now I'm in an office job.
Yeah.
This is my first office job I ever had. Uh, so I'm doing this, and it was very strange to me because I used to bust my ass and go fight for 2 hours or work out for 2 hours or whatever the hell I did, and I could do that fine. Get to an office job. At the end of the day, I'm fucking tired. And that was because the body in motion wants to stay in.
Okay, guys, we're back. Sorry about that. So body in motion tends to stay in motion, Fred.
Yes, and if you start being sedentary, you tend to want to be sedentary. Like your body wants to. I don't know. But with the office job, it was a big change of life for me. Uh, I thought I would have all this extra energy to work out way harder, and That didn't happen.
Yeah, you realize it's not there. You thought you're like, dude, I can get so much shit done now that I'm not like killing myself every day.
Yeah, I thought I was going to have all this excess energy to do fucking everything.
Yeah.
But actually, I had less, which was a surprise to me. And it's a very long adjustment. It took me a while to adjust. And good thing about the full time guard, they give you a PT hour for you to go PT. Depending on where you're at, whether they enforce it or not. Basically, some places are like, as long as you're passing your PT, we're not really enforcing whether we're not going to watch you do your PT.
Yeah.
But your ass better pass, or we're getting
Yeah.
flagged or
Yeah.
whatever. Um, but so then I started taking advantage of that PT hour with my buddy Caldwell, and got a little better because therefore, I mean, I gained 20 pounds fucking in like
Oh
3 months
shit.
sitting in
Yeah.
that office.
So in that type of place, because that was at Jefferson Barracks,
Jefferson, it's
or not
ISTS.
Jefferson Barracks, ISTS. Is that the one outside of Jeff City, or is that in Jeff City?
It's yeah, it's right before that new Walmart out there.
Oh
Or I
yeah,
guess it ain't new anymore, but the
Militia
new
Drive or
Walmart.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So those that don't know, I didn't know. The place he's talking about is in Jefferson City, Missouri, which is the capital, but it's right outside of it.
Yes.
It's about a 45-minute drive from here. But the moral of the story is, there's really not a lot out there. And in my mind, it's so odd to see these National Guard bases because I'm like, what the hell do they even got there? There's no PX. But you're saying they had stuff. Did they have some things there? I guess they had
We
like
have
a
a
gym.
we had a gym. We
Yeah.
didn't. There's no PX.
Yeah.
There's
Not. Is there a shop at or anything? Or
no
like, oh,
no.
Jesus.
I mean, if you need something like,
You just run to the gas station, I guess so.
oh yes, there's a little food shop and there's a
Oh,
little
okay.
defect type thing with a grill, and
Oh,
yeah, well, I mean there's everything you
so it's
need there.
functionable. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
But it's
But I
mostly
mean, there's
civilians
not a
working there too, right? Like, or like small. It's a very small unit.
it's well, I don't know what their strength is there, but it's so talking about guard side full timers. There's three different statuses, pretty much, or kind of three main ones. Uh, you got your ADOS guys, which is what I started off being, temporary active duty. You have federal technicians, Title 32 and Title 5,
Mm.
which Title 32 basically means your dual status. You have to be an M day guy, one of the guys that do the 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year, or Title 5 is civilian.
Oh, okay.
So Title 32, you're kind of a civilian, a federal contractor, but you also have to wear your uniform when you go to work. Title 5, you can be in the guard or out of the guard, and you work in civies.
Interesting.
And then AGR, which is full time.
Yeah.
Uh, so up there, I mean, it's a mix. It's mostly AGRs, ADOS, and I mean most people you see running around wearing a uniform.
Yeah.
Title 5 is a lot. There's a lot less spots for that, which is pretty desirable for most people. Like a lot of people I talked to wanted to be Title 5 tech,
Yeah.
um, but
Because you're basically a civilian for the army, right?
yeah,
Yeah, it's the best.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
They have DA civilians for active. I
mm-hmm.
mean, I don't even know if it's for active, but they just have DA civilians that they work basically a full job, but they're a civilian. They just work for the army.
Yeah. I mean, we have guard guys that work at Fort Leonard Wood as civilians on the civilian side.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So that is a thing. Um, where the hell were we?
No, you're good. Oh my look. So you're up there,
Yep.
you're doing that stuff. So after that, what happened basically? You did that stint for what, a year or
Okay.
two?
So I'm on ADOS, and eventually in my office, so ADOS, like I said, is temporary. It's not reliable. Eventually, my NCOIC comes up to me talking about, hey, we have a technician job, Title 32, which is where you're
Oh, when
uniformed.
you were talking about, yeah.
Yeah, but it's stable. Asking me, do you want to apply for this? Because I guess I did a good job. Good.
Yeah.
Um, so I applied for the federal technician job. I ended up getting it. So now I got a permanent position as a tech for that office,
Hell yeah.
which is it's an interesting thing. It's so like I said, you're wearing a uniform, but none of that time counts towards like an active duty retirement. It counts
Oh,
towards
that's the
it's
issue.
like a federal employee.
Yeah.
So you're working towards a federal employee retirement,
Right.
which
It's still good, but it's not.
it's good, but it's not what I was after.
Uh-huh.
Um, so I'm working that route for a while, and then I'm doing that for quite a while, at least a year, and then the another status that I haven't talked about, which is what I applied for, is called OTOT, which is AGR, but normally they cut you for like 3 years. It's like ADOS on steroids.
Oh, so it's just a big old contract.
It's like a long, more than so ADOS normally goes anywhere from 30 days to a year. OTOT
A year to 3 or 4 years or something.
normally 3 years or less. Yeah.
Okay.
So I ended up getting this spot also up there at ISTS, but at a different building. They have multiple different buildings where different operations are going on. And this one was for Family Warrior Support, which is kind of more uh, supporting the soldiers. They got all kinds of family programs going on there, and I ended up getting this passport gig. So
What the
I was a passport agent. You ever
What the fuck?
So when you deploy certain places, you got to have a maroon passport.
Yeah, I have one.
Yeah, I was the guy that
Oh, they did all that stuff.
I did all
Okay.
that to get you a maroon
Yeah, fair
passport,
enough. Yeah.
and
Okay.
they have deers in there. I became deer certified. Bunch of more admin stuff that was separate from what I was doing. So I learned a whole more lanes. Worked there for a few months, and then AGR position, which was what my goal was, came available in Fort Leonard Wood with 35th Engineer Brigade. So I applied for that.
Mm-hmm.
And also, a difference with the Guard, which I was talking to Ben about earlier. Uh, Basically, you apply for these positions like a civilian applying for a job.
Oh yeah, what we were talking about there. Yeah. Yeah, go into that a little bit because that was interesting.
So basically, all these different jobs I've been talking about, you put in an application and you basically go in for a job interview. It's kind of like so it can be formal or informal. You go before a board, but it's most of them that I did, or actually all of them I did, were informal. So basically, you walk in and you do a job interview for the position, and that's a lot different than active duty, correct? Like when you guys go for positions.
Yeah, I mean, we're not. We don't really. We just get slotted for positions. The board you're talking about, you're describing. I've only seen it done for really the sergeant board and the staff sergeant board.
To get
Uh,
promoted,
to get promoted, they
but
ask
for
you those.
positions themselves, you
But
just
for
get pushed
it
wherever.
just whoever's there, and then I mean, like sometimes you'll go talk to the sergeant major of the unit that you know you're going to, and they'll like pinpoint you based on your attributes, but that's about it.
No, but yeah, this is you actually have to compete for the job.
Oh, really?
Like you're not. Yeah, you actually go in, you interview, and I don't know how many people applied for the position that I'm in now, but each of us interviewed, and they select who they want for that position.
Okay.
Uh, so yeah, end up getting that AGR position, Fort Leonard Wood, as the admin NCO, which another strange thing about the guard. Another thing about especially the full time guard, a lot of people kind of MOS hop to progress.
Oh yeah, you're saying like because you're like a 42 alpha, but then you could also jump if you wanted to over to like 12 November and stuff like that.
So yeah, on the full time side, and also on the M day side, but not as much. You do a lot more MOS hopping in the guard, I believe, than active duty. Like a lot of so in active duty, is switching MOS is very common.
It's like it's not uncommon, but it's a whole thing once you do it because it's not you can't wear two hats. Once you switch over to a different MOS, that's what they're gonna put you in,
No,
not what your previous one was or anything like that.
well, in the guard, I know guys that got 4 or 5 MOSs.
What?
So it helps. It's for progression. So like I said, I got this job. I'm a 42 alpha, which a unit admin, and I do training, some kind of unit admin slash training NCO, because which I share that with our readiness NCO. Uh, it's a 42 alpha is most of the kind of work I'm doing, but it's actually a 12 November slot, which is a horizontal construction engineer, which is what Ryan was.
That's why, because you're a training in CO2, right? Is that okay?
So we're supposed to have a training NCO, but currently the
Right.
duty is kind of split between me and.
But it's because you're in it. So that's how ours work, right? So when a Seaburn person goes to a battalion,
Mm-hmm,
we can slot to stuff like that, like training NCO or schools NCO. There's stuff like that for active duty.
mm-hmm.
And it's like it could probably be like an infantry slot or anything, but like we fill that slot sometimes and vice versa.
But yeah, so I'll be picking up my second MOS this year, uh, and then in the future, if I apply for another position and they select me, I may have to reclass again for whatever position that is.
But
Uh,
that sets you up for success a lot, right? Because then you have the opportunity to fill multiple roles if needed, right?
yeah, like you were saying, if you don't really wear multiple hats in active duty in the guard, you can have these different MOSs, which just kind of broaden your worth. It makes you more valuable.
That
You
makes
can,
sense to me. Yeah.
but so got a reclass. Uh, Currently working in unit admin has been uh, pretty tough. Um, I actually work a lot of hours, a lot going on. Got a mission going on, and that adds extra to it. And it's definitely it's definitely not like you see them jokes on the internet about the S1 going
Dude, I
home.
make jokes about this one.
But no, I
it,
definitely, I'm
it,
doing a bunch of S1
and
shit.
you were telling me about it because it's like it's crazy because like I think of S1, I think of hours from 09 to 0901 and a 13 to 1310 like
Yeah, yep. You
and
see, you see them, but that's definitely not how it's working out here.
yeah
Especially, I don't know if it's more of a guard thing compared to active duty, but a lot of the admin tasks are it like readiness is our main deal. Like having these guys, they're civilians that only come in once a month. We got to have them ready if shit pops off to be able to get them going quickly.
yeah
So we're doing lots of admin stuff, and when we talk about motivation, where motivation gets killed, I think for guard guys, a lot of them that come in out of AIT, they start doing their first drills, and some units, they and Vince didn't really talk about his reserve time, but a lot of them
yeah
they're just coming in and doing the mandatory trainings a lot of times and doing the
yeah
admin task each weekend.
yeah
So they're just
true
kind of sitting around doing admin task once a month, which that would like if I was an M-Day soldier and that's all I did was go PMCS vehicles and do admin tasks for the weekend every weekend, that'd get pretty boring.
Yeah, I would find no purpose in it. I'd be
Yeah,
like, what
there
the
you
fuck am I
don't,
doing here?
like I said, be back to not really feeling any kind of fulfillment from it.
Yeah.
But I mean, our unit is we definitely try to let them do their, especially it's hard because we get all these trainings from higher up that are mandatory that we got to get done to find time to do like MOS specific type stuff. So people people can practice their MOS
Yeah.
or
That's a
do.
dude. That I'll tell you right now. That's a thing across the army that's hard to do with stupid taskings coming down.
Yeah.
It's a very hard way to like find time to fit good training in
Mm-hmm.
that's going to benefit the soldiers as opposed to doing, you know,
Well, it's like
annual sharp
practical
refresher.
training.
Yeah.
It's hard to find time for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I can see it.
Yeah. It's rough, man. Would you say your motivation, like, would you say like with this role, right? Did your motivation go down, or did you find yourself finding a challenging position that you're taking head on, or like, are you just like, man, I'm getting pretty sick and tired of this bullshit?
It's kind of a weird answer, but it's a combination of both. Of I got all this shit, and it's kind of draining, but I'm also so coming from state at the state headquarters level. It kind of be like division level for you guys or something.
Okay.
You're working a lot of numbers and computer screens, like you're not really face to face with soldiers.
Yeah.
My level now, I'm actually face to face with soldiers and taking care of them. So that is fulfilling. But it's also like we were talking about all the taskings and stuff. There's so much shit to do that
Dude, you hate it. You
it's
hate it. You
like,
go, why the fuck is this coming down?
it seems like they just keep pushing stuff down, but they don't take away what they did push down
Yeah.
the line. Like it's just,
Isn't it weird though? Because you're talking about at your level, the one you worked before, you didn't see any of that. So where's the discord between that level and the lowers? You know?
well, I don't know. At the higher level, you're kind of more focused on a lane or two. You got one or two lanes. It kind of seemed like, at least in my experience, where you got a lot of work, but it's kind of more repetitive.
Yeah,
At the
true.
level I'm at now,
Good point.
uh, you got a lot of work and it's all over the fucking place.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but there's just a million different kind of things you got to like. You know, you don't need to be the expert on everything, but you got to know a little bit of everything. And which it was different. It's a different transition than what where I started because I
Yeah,
started at the highest level for the
right.
guard.
I think that's hard because you started at what would you call it, a cush job? I would call it it's it's like a it's just a narrower job to where you're focusing, like you said, on one thing. And
Mm-hmm.
now you're down here, bro. You're in the trenches with me and the other E5s and E6s getting shit on with these stupid fucking taskings. If soldiers fuck up, it's on you. If something didn't get done, somebody's on your ass about it. And
Yep.
while it sucks, I do believe it makes you a way more um, competent person.
I'm definitely, it's kind of trial by fire a little bit,
Yeah. Oh
which,
yeah, dude. I'm a drill sergeant. I feel you 100% on that shit.
but it's definitely, I do feel like I've grown a lot and learned a lot since taking this position.
Yeah.
Um, and the people above me are actually very supportive, which, like I said, I haven't been a part of a bad unit. I've heard stories,
Yeah.
but
But
everybody
that
I've
makes
ever,
your job easier, probably too, right? Is with
it
the support from
definitely
them.
is definitely a lot better that I have people above me that are supportive and willing to help or answer any of my stupid questions I ask.
Hell yeah.
But that's it's, it's just I don't know. And then motivation wise, because that's the premise of this podcast, right? Motivation, why or what keeps us going, or what makes
Yeah,
us not want to
why? I
go.
suppose. Yeah.
Uh, I am still very motivated because what I coming from the state level, I wanted to help soldiers. I wanted that face to face, seeing you know, seeing what I'm doing, like actually helping people.
Yeah.
Uh, but then on top of that, you just got so much shit with. I mean, you get into. I don't watch the news anymore
No,
because
you don't want to,
no,
man.
it's fucking all bad
You don't
news.
want to.
But I mean, you just
Watch
see
Joe
like
Rogan.
the
That's about it.
you see like the trajectory of the nation, or where like everything's divided. Nobody like it's not. Nobody knows where we're going, and that
Yeah.
and that kind of makes it hard even down where I'm at. Like, what are we doing here? Like,
Well, you're like, at that point, you look at it and it's so fucked, and you're just like, why? What is happening right now?
you
What
know,
are, what are, what are we talking about?
one thing I wanted to bring up before I forgot. I got out of basic, and then I'm able to get my phone after that. And I
Yeah.
pop open my Facebook, and I see this fucking picture of Drill Sergeant Blake, and I'm like, what the fuck? I'm not.
Oh, you went through right when I got my
Yep.
stuff.
So basically, what I wanted to ask, because you didn't do it in your little first episode, how the hell did you? Because in my mind, I was like, wow, I've never expected Ben Lake to become a drill sergeant. How the hell did that happen?
Yeah, I'm gonna need more beer for that, man. I don't know, man. I partly it was like selection and stuff because I initially so what was it? I did all my time right. I picked up staff sergeant in 2020 of January, right when I or January 2020. That was right when I arrived to my new unit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I get there and I'm doing okay, and COVID hits like you're talking about,
Yeah.
and what was it? We get through. We're training up for a mission. We're about to deploy in next January. I'm doing some cool training, and COVID hits. Everything stops, and I had a confrontation with my leader, and I was like, I gotta get the fuck out of here because I was getting very frustrated because I was like, I I love where I'm working, but I don't feel like I'm doing anything. I got to do something and get out of here. And I reached out to branch, and they were like, "Well, there's drill sergeant's openings." I'm like, I don't know about that. So I talked to the branch manager about drill sergeant stuff, and I'm like, I'm good. I'll figure out something. And then, boom, drill sergeant orders. Like,
Damn.
it's like you mentioned one thing at a staff sergeant level about being uncomfortable. Boom, you're going. I was like, I just wanted to move, but it's whatever. It's it popped up, and at first I was very skeptical because I'm like, man, you hear the horror stories, you hear all this shit. My wife was still pregnant at that time with a third child, so I was like, damn. And the only thing I was happy about was I got to move home here. And Fred knows, like, I've been gone from my hometown, and I'm a very family oriented person. He knows my parents; they're very sociable people, I'd say, and they're just, I miss my family here and my friends, and so I was like, I'll make the most of it, whatever. And then I go to this drill sergeant academy thing, do the whole thing, and man, dude, honestly, it's literally like joining the army. Like, I'm sure you never thought you'd be a sergeant this quick at first, right? Like in basic training, you're like, I'm not gonna have stripes like immediately, or maybe you did.
No. So it's kind of like the same way. So I do Brazilian Jiu Jitsu as well, like Vince was talking about. Whenever you get your blue belt, you originally you're like, man, do I should I be a blue belt? That's kind of the same way I felt when I became a sergeant. I'm like, but I'm also older than, like a lot of sergeants are what, like 20, 22, 23.
Yeah, and in active, yeah,
So
most are 20 or 21.
so it wasn't as much for me doing that because I'd already kind of experienced that going from blue and then going to purple belt. And it's kind of, you always feel like whenever you get a promotion like that, like you get that second guess of whether you deserve it or not.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, it wasn't the first time when I got my sergeant. It wasn't the first time I felt like that. And actually, that was one of the best days of my military career was pinning sergeant because I had
yeah, I
my mom
saw it.
pin me,
Hell yeah.
and she was she had terminal cancer, and she was just lit up like fucking city
It was
block.
beautiful, man.
She had
I
a
saw
great
the
time.
video of it. She was so excited, which is good on her, man. God rest her soul. I knew grandma's. We always called her grandma.
Yeah,
She was an angelic woman, and I know it made her proud to see Fred do that.
so yeah, that was like I said, that was the highlight of my military career so far was that. And it was just yeah, that was just awesome.
Yeah,
And like I said, guards like a family. I know that you guys talk about your units and how you got to move and leave a family kind of,
yeah,
which guards kind of a it's a little more close knit because we're all in the same state.
exactly. If you, it'd
So
probably be closer.
the people, I had the major and the master sergeant at my OIC and my NCOIC at the time, and they set it up, and it was cool stuff. Uh, that's another motivation that I had for joining the guard is because I had my daughter and now I have my son, and I wanted I didn't want to be bouncing around, which I couldn't even imagine the stress of moving a family like you do with your kids, and which I guess it probably helps. I mean, you got a wife very supportive, and
Yeah, and she
I'm
knows the deal already.
yeah, but
I think, man, that motivation, like me and you both, I think now we mostly work and do everything. So it's not for us. I mean, there's to some extent, I'm sure it is, but most of it is so our kids have better lives than we did. Like everything I do, I literally just think like, man, I just want them to have like, I want them to have close to my moral and ethics, maybe better,
hmm
but I really want them to just strive and have a better upbringing and be able to accomplish more than I ever could, and give that upbringing that I didn't necessarily have.
so I know Ryan had talked about how people were dogging him for joining for selfish reasons, kind of.
Yeah.
But like you said, joining the military is it's it's a mutual thing. Like they're benefiting, you're benefiting. Like you're not supposed to lose for joining. Uh, I joined, mostly because I wanted to switch my life, but I also was trying to get a full time career.
Yes.
So it's for a career.
Yeah. People, the days of joining because you're trying to just serve this wonderful country are over. Like people don't do that anymore. Like maybe, 1 out of 100. But man, like
It's
that.
definitely
When was the last time that happened? World War II, right?
no. A lot of people joined right after 9/11,
Yes,
but
but
that's faded out.
yeah. Not only that, like, was it selfless service of like I'm going to defend the country, or was it like, you know I want to be an American hero? Because I'm sure there was some like that, and people don't want to hear that. I'm sure I'm probably going to get flack for it or something. And I'm reaching so many people right now, but like, I think people did join for sure. Like, Chris Kyle on American Sniper, he talks about it. He said he joined because he was like, I want to go kill those bad guys. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, get
Yeah.
after it. But there were some douchebags that joined that were just like, I'm gonna be a fucking savage and go out there and be a hero. And then they were like got overseas, or they went to basic and they got chaptered, or they froze up in combat.
So you can have. It's not black and white. You can have multiple
Yeah,
motivations.
that I went on a
So
big old tangent there, but
so
I
like
yeah,
I joined for selfish reasons and selfless reasons. I joined to have a career, and I joined to help soldiers.
yes,
But
awesome,
I was
man.
just wanting to defend Ryan a little bit because I mean he did what he was a soldier. He did what he was told to do. Uh, and yes, he got his certs out of it. There's
Right.
nothing wrong with that.
Ryan, I don't, to my knowledge, maybe we'll do a fact check, but I don't, to my knowledge, know Ryan never received Article 15, never received like any bad stuff, right?
I don't.
Ryan,
Yeah, not to my knowledge either.
yeah, Ryan was a good soldier. I hope nobody's upset about that, but if they are, fuck him, because he he did what he needed to do. So
And in the guard, there's a lot of people. Like if you're, a lot of people join just to get their GI Bill, and go to college.
yeah, man.
That's what they. That's what their plan is help for tuition.
Yes. A lot
And
of people active duty, the only reason they joined was because to get their citizenship. And
yeah,
it's
that's
no
another
knock on
thing.
them. Get it, man. That's what you got to do. Which, like in my mind, that's crazy that you got to serve 3 years in active duty. To get your citizenship. But like, good on you. Get after it.
I mean, it should be a mutually beneficial relationship.
Reciprocating
Yeah,
relationship, man. You do you, and we'll give you what you need.
yeah. Army's gonna get its.
100%. The army will get theirs. Um, would you say your level right now for the army, and be honest, is the same as when you joined?
No,
No. You'd say
no.
it would you say a giant dip or just a little?
Not giant, but there has been a dip.
Okay. Um.
The basically it's more just from kind of getting beat down a little bit,
Yeah.
and I mean I know because I joined late, so like I said, I've been saying high speed as a joke,
Yeah.
but fuck, I was 30 years old when I joined. I had to be high speeder. I'm all I started 10 steps behind,
Good point.
so
Good. I
I'm
never thought about it like that.
well. If I joined when I was 18 and I had 13 years of service in, I could, you know,
Yeah.
I'd be fucking way higher than I
You'd be
am
a
now.
person right now. Yeah.
Well, I don't
That's
know about
great.
that, but that'd be something. Uh,
Um.
but yeah,
Jeez.
so I,
What what? No, sorry. What were you gonna say?
I don't know. You cut me off.
Oh,
I've
I
been hitting the
gotta get
head.
off
I've
real
been hitting the
quick.
head a lot. My brain don't work that
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
What was you saying?
No, I just you know, I guess like the biggest thing that you took away from your experience, whether it was base camp, like all the stuff that you experienced, what's like your biggest thing that you would say to people who are thinking about joining?
Okay, got that. But I remember what we were talking about. Why I dipped. Okay,
Yeah.
so the dipping, I think just like you're talking about how you had to go to drill sergeant school, and whenever you went to drill sergeant school, I'm sure it's a new adventure.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
My bad, I got out of that question. Shit,
yeah,
it's like
so it's a new adventure.
yeah,
So whenever, anytime you start a new adventure, your motivations are high. Your sense of what's going to happen, peaks up. So basically, right now mine dipped a little bit because I'm kind of stuck in doing fighting. It kind of feels like a losing battle what I'm doing right now because you can't make all your suspenses.
yes,
Uh,
never, man. There's
so it just
can't be
kind of feels like
100%,
I'm
100%.
losing the war without knowing what's gonna happen. Like what's after this.
Yeah,
So that's kind of what slightly dipped my motivation but it's not dipped to the point of me wanting to get out or hating the army or anything like that.
So that's good. You'll have those moments, man. I think everybody in their military career, unless you're like some special case, I think most people have moments that are a test to them. Like, are you gonna break during this moment? Because I've had mine. I'm
Yeah.
sure I'll have more.
Hmm.
But people have those moments where you're like, what? Why the fuck am I here? Like I like doing this shit, but damn. And that's on you to really figure out and navigate. And I'm sure you're working that in your head right now.
Yeah, and like also like you said, uh, your motivation is to provide a good life for your children. So my motivation, keep climbing, keep going. Got to provide a good life for my son and my daughter. Uh,
Absolutely.
I mean, that's the goal of any parent, is to provide a better life than you had.
Yeah. And you look at your parents, my parents, as well as yours, um, took the physical route. I mean, differing situations, obviously, but the ones that we look up to, they worked their ass off.
No, like we were talking about grandma, my mom,
Right. Just
she single, her
grandma worked till what? Like
she worked
3 months, 4 months before she passed. I mean, no,
is
she retired, but she was
she
older.
retired and then went back to work.
Right. I mean, she just worked her ass off.
You know,
And Eddie Lake as well
yeah,
as anyone listening to this podcast that knows Eddie Lake. He works his ass off since I was a little kid. And my mom, she stayed at home, but now she's a bus driver. But she worked her ass off for kids, and
you know,
you don't want your kids to have to work their ass off. Basically, me and you are kind of in the middle where we're working our ass off, but we're also using our smarts a little bit to try to like
mm,
get shit done. And you're like, I hope the kids see that you can use your brain and try to like not have to work and toil your body away, and just have a better life.
all you can do as a parent is try to give them a better, give them a better start into adulthood than you had,
Yes,
and then
yes.
support them. All right. What was the question that you asked
The
after once I
question:
remembered?
What what was the biggest advice you would give to someone who's thinking about joining right
Okay. So, like you said, joining the National Guard. Um,
now? Yeah,
so
that's
join.
good too. Yeah, I just want to clarify that too, because we gave a lot of active stuff away about joining the guard.
Okay, so joining the National Guard and the reserves in a way, which I'm not as familiar with them, but it you get you get what you want to get out of it. So you can do, like I said, just go to the drill weekends and just do the bare minimum and coast through. Maybe you did it to get your college tuition or whatever, and you want to do your 6 years and get out. Or you can try, you got to be more active in your career. Like, nobody's going to push you. I mean, people might see potential in you and like try to put like, convince, like tell you to do something.
Yeah, they mentor
Like,
you.
yeah,
You
they
gotta
might
help.
they might see potential in you and try to say, hey, you should do this or put in for this. But the main thing in the guard is, uh, you're in charge of your career, kind of like
Interesting.
nobody's gonna force you to do anything. I mean, you might get deployed or something like that, but I mean, like
Yeah, but yeah.
career wise, nobody's gonna force you to go to be a sergeant. You can retire out of the guard as an E4. Yes, you don't ever.
Well,
You can.
that's crazy, dude. The army forces soldiers to go to boards for promotion at a certain point, and they'll say that they don't force them because you're supposed to counsel them. Soldiers get forced to go to the boards all the time, and they have to go, and then they get promoted, and then you're like, what the fuck? People don't want to be in, man.
No.
Like I want soldiers that are I'm sure you do too. You want soldiers that are motivated at least to like want to like achieve and be a good person at their job.
Yeah, and but basically, yeah, your reserve career is what you make of it. You can make the bare minimum, or you can push to exceed. It's done me a lot, which I put in the work to make that happen. I know a lot of other people that the guard is.
That the guard, Fred finished out by saying the guard has done wonders for, you know. So can you kind of expand on that just a little bit, Fred? Sorry,
We
were
had about a 5 minute talking conversation off
yeah,
air.
we keep forgetting to look at the damn screen. So he was talking about he knows, the stuff the guard has done wonders for. But
Yeah, and then we went on a tangent of people that are people that
oh, that ride the coattails,
yeah,
right? So
ride the
we're like
coattails of
we're
others.
we were talking about just people that I personally get very heated about people that like do their job well and they get tasked more and more with shit because everybody thinks they're so capable. But then people that are dirtbags, they're like, well, we're just gonna leave them in the corner. They can play with the ball until we're done. And that's just why is that allowed? Why is that allowed?
And that's a thing that is in life in general, civilian life or military life. Civilian wise, same thing. Somebody comes to work and busts their ass. You kind of know their level or what they can get done, especially in like a physical thing, construction or manufacturing. And then you got the guy that makes the minimum quota, and and then in the army, same kind of thing. You find who the go getters are, who's squared away, and that's who you're going to give the task because you can trust them, especially as like an NCO. Like like they were saying, if something doesn't get done, it's not the higher ups aren't going to be yelling at the specialists and the privates. It's the NCO that was supposed to be in charge of them, making
Yeah,
sure the stuff got done.
yeah,
So as the NCO, you're making sure, you're giving the task to the squared away guy because you're not worried about, uh, that it's going to get done. And then you got the other guy over there that's just making a bare minimum. Um, you don't want to put that responsibility on them, but it's also, where do you want to put your energy? Do you want to put your energy into pushing the shit bag along, or kind of
developing that
developing
NCO
the squared away guy?
sucks, man.
It does. I mean, uh, and that's just going to be a fact for the army that some people want to
Yeah,
do their 4 and get out, or do their 6 and get out, and they're going to do the bare minimum they can.
yeah, it's a volunteer force. Jeez, excuse me. It's a volunteer force of over 500,000. With combined, compo 1, 2, and 3, there's over 500,000.
I think there's more than
Um,
that, ain't there?
well, 500. I just know it's like 4 or 500,000 for active duty, so I'll just say over, and then my stats
All right.
are right. So my last couple questions, Fred. If what would you say is the best thing you've learned from the army? Like you've taken from it. What would you say?
Hmm. That is a good question because, like I said, I joined late, so I already kind of had life figured out enough to sustain myself. Um, what has the army taught me? I mean, I've learned a lot of things, especially army wise. Like army language and culture is completely different than civilian wise. Like
Yeah.
the way everybody speaks, the way everybody works is kind of like, the way people interact are different than civilian. Really,
Also,
it's just a different dynamic of I mean, you got your jargons, you got your kind of I can't really put my finger on it, but the just the whole lifestyle is different.
Yeah,
That's something
I'd
I'll
say
have to
that.
reflect on and kind of analyze, but
Okay.
it's definitely a different kind of thing.
Yeah. What is guys? Fred will be back on the podcast one day. Do not worry. When he's sergeant major of the National Guard.
Oh God.
What would you say is the? Because I'm maybe come up with this answer a little easier. What would you say is the something bad you've taken from the army, or like the worst thing you could say that there is? You know, just to warn people or say this is my worst experience with it.
So, like I said, I joined late. I knew what I was getting into. I was mentally prepared for much worse than what I'm dealing with. Uh, but if you go in thinking it's going to be all sunshine and rainbows, it won't be. Uh, I would anybody looking to join definitely talk to people that are already in, but also talk to people that are already in that have motivation. Like, don't talk to the guy that's like, I'm just going to get in and get out and do the bare minimum. Don't talk to the shitbag. Talk to the people that are actually
Or the
doing.
or the guy that did like 3 years and he says the army fucked me, that's why I got out or something, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Don't talk to that guy because, like I said, especially well, I can only speak from the guard perspective, but especially in the guard, you get what you put in. So if you're looking to progress or do things, you got to put it. You got to closed mouth don't get fed. You got to do it. Like you got to put in for it. Uh, I really there's nothing that I've done in the army that is like I said. Everybody I've worked with has been good. I mean, if you want to talk about shit, like what sitting out in the soaking rain, that sucks. But
Yeah, I mean,
I mean
yeah,
that's expected.
yeah.
Like don't expect, you know, you're gonna do some things that you don't want to do, but you just got to go in.
No, it's yeah. I think I think there was this terrible campaign done where it was like choose your war. We just talked about this at work today because it was you saw the army change the logo and everything.
Didn't they?
Yeah, they changed it back to this gold, just gold star, but then they it's be all that you can be. Remember the old like
Is that what it is now?
be all that you can be. Yeah, and I think before this, my buddy was like, well, I was like, what was the one before this? He goes, Army Strong. I'm like, nah, dude, Army Strong is like old. I remember the commercials I've seen on like Hulu and shit. It's like choose your fucking war fighter, like a video
That's
game.
what it is,
I don't know if that's
or
the
that's what it
motto
was.
necessarily, but that was the campaign like
And then there was
slogan thing. And I'm like, this is not Mortal Kombat. Like, you are gonna do
well,
some shit that you did not choose to do. It sucks sometimes, but like it's better for you in the long run to do those shit things, so you become a better person.
yeah, it'll build character,
100%.
and like I said, I don't know, I just don't really have anything that sticks out to me too much because I always put myself through stupid shit anyways, or like push myself in other aspects like the martial arts or jiu-jitsu where you're getting smashed underneath people.
Yeah, you dealt with those
So
confrontations.
laying out in the mud wasn't
Yeah,
wasn't
you're
bad to me.
because I think Fred, you understand too. I only dealt with it during um, probably you know cross country. Maybe I suppose would be my closest venture to that testament where you're doing an event or training that is so shitty you just turn your brain off.
Yeah, you're sucking air and you're
You
about to puke and
yeah, and you just go, no, I got to do this, so I'm gonna get this done. So all right,
when you ask the
so
worst, what's the best?
yeah, what's the best?
Uh, it is. I mean, I got good things, lots of good things. Like I said, everybody I've worked with have been pretty amazing, really. Uh, I've not once regretted leaving the job I had before joining the army to the
That's
job
awesome.
I'm at now.
Yeah,
Uh, Even with all the hard shit I've dealt with way worse in the civilian world.
yeah,
Uh, I mean, I'm also talking from a guy I have not deployed, so I can't speak on that. Like, I can understand guys that go out, maybe bad shit happens to them, that they be speaking from a whole different world than I am.
yeah. Yeah. I'll get into that a whole other episode.
You
Yeah,
know, but so far I have no complaints.
yeah, and I think that's a good thing that should be pushed because I believe a study came out. It was 80 to 90% of soldiers do not experience actual combat like that.
Yeah,
And I'm sure even now it's lower. But and also I read Try by Sebastian Younger. He's this journalist. He did a study, or he looked at the study. Um, Less than 10% of PTSD is chronic. So most people can't actually work through it, and most people are at this point. I think the world's doing a lot better at it, but I think it's a great promotion as well as a message to those that you not only joined and have had a good career thus far, but you show that it truly is better than the outside world sometimes, that you are thriving in your environment
mm,
and you are truly enjoying it.
yeah,
That's 80% of the time, you know.
yeah. I'm definitely thriving. I mean, like I said, you got to put the work in,
Yeah,
and it can.
100%.
I mean,
Yeah,
it does pretty
no
good.
free chicken. Yeah,
I guess the now that I think about it, I would say the number one downside for me is the world climate and the fucking uncertainty.
yeah.
Now that I
It's
think
a
about
hard
it,
thing to deal with, man. Especially when
because
you're like, you're so on you you're so on edge in basic and AIT because they put little worms in your ear, and then you look outside of it and you're like, man, there is kind of some fucked up shit going on.
yeah, and who knows where we're heading? Where we're heading to World War III, or it's just another fucking Cold War.
Yeah, who knows, man.
But I mean, you raise your hand. You raise your hand. You swear your oath.
Yep,
I mean, you
you gotta do what
definitely
you gotta
should
do.
should live by your word. I would not. I've told people don't join just for college money. You got to understand that you're joining, and there is a possibility that you could be going to war.
Yeah,
So,
I wouldn't even tell people join for college money if you want to, but just know that you
well,
could
yeah.
go
I
to
mean, you got
war.
to understand that
Yeah,
that is a thing.
yeah, for sure.
Like, it's
So
not. It's not a.
read the terms and agreements before you
Definitely read
before
some
you
of them
sign,
papers.
man. Yeah.
It's you definitely need to understand the full spectrum of what you're getting into.
Yeah.
Besides that, yeah.
All right. Well, we'll close out, Fred. I like to get it. What do you got for movie rack?
Uh, Go back and watch Tropic Thunder. That shit's funny,
That's what I'm talking about. Okay. I love it.
especially with all I've seen on the internet. People are bitching about it
Yeah,
again.
people
So
are bitching about it. When did that come out? Like over ten
fuck,
years
at
ago.
least 10 years ago.
That movie is so funny and it's done beautifully, like to where they're not doing anything wrong. It's just funny as shit.
Yep, can't make that today. Not with all these motherfuckers running around here.
Yeah. Suck my unit. That shit's funny, dude. All right. Well, thank you, Fred. I really appreciate you coming on, man. I think we got into a lot more than we thought we were gonna. So
Hey, you never know.
yeah,
I appreciate it, and yeah, it's fun.
awesome. Well, thanks guys for listening. If you stuck through this far, be sure to like and subscribe. We're on pretty much every major podcast platform now. So subscribe, do whatever you need to, leave a rating. Thank you for coming. We'll have more eps out shortly. Thanks for stopping by.